Hello friends, Chad Putman here with Make Your It Happen and a 60-day update with regards to my Make Your It Happen from San Juan, Puerto Rico. And for this 60-day celebration milestone, I wanted to reflect on the impact of fear and how fear oftentimes plays a very commanding role in our lives. And so I'll start by just sharing. So this morning, one of the things I love about my apartment is that I have these great windows in my bedroom, and although I have blackout curtains, I don't use them because in the morning I get the sunrise and it wakes me up in the morning, and I'm not a morning person by any means. But 6:30, 7 o'clock, I start to feel the sun on me. And this morning I actually woke up before the sun rose and was able to see almost like a sunset, right? But the sunrise and how it was filling the clouds with color, bright oranges and yellows, and it was beautiful. And so I just kind of followed it along and made the decision to get up and go for a run, which I love doing in the morning because it's cooler in the morning. And oftentimes what I do at the end of my run is I'll jump into the Condado Lagoon, and nobody's there. It's very quiet other than folks headed off to work or other people out exercising and running, and float in the water. It's like bath water and it's beautiful. And as I was laying there, I just the fear, I put my shoes, my cell phone, my keys up under a tree and just kind of tucked it away in hopes that nobody will see it or whatever. But just this fear of well, what if? And, I got to a place in where my meditation and just laying back and floating in the water and my feet literally just dragging in the sand as I was floating in the water, of just I'll be okay, regardless of what happens. Okay, so maybe my cell phone disappears, maybe my keys disappear, but I'll survive, I'll be all right. I have a spare key. I could always get another phone. I mean, obviously I don't want those things to happen, but the fear, just it perpetrated my just Zen moment in trying to just relax and be present in the moment. And so as I think about that, I think about how fear comes up at my meetings that I go to, including last night, but also behind me. And I intentionally chose this as my backdrop because as I came down here, I had the intention to get back into doing some artwork. And so I bought a couple canvases at the local store and some paint. And I saw all these buttons and was inspired by the buttons and twine and string and stuff. And so the two pieces behind me are the pieces that I've constructed since coming down and in essence celebrating my 60 days here in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And when you look at the one over this shoulder, whatever shoulder that is, my right shoulder, what you can see is there's all of this collection of buttons and twine and string, and then you have up here, which is a little harder to see. I'll bring it up just so you can see a little bit better, but I can't navigate. Okay, here we go. So, and then there's a blue button with a little button on it, which is kind of the island of Puerto Rico and me. And then you have this pocket full of kind of just floating in space with all these other buttons in it. And so what that means for me is I constructed it, and I didn't realize it as I was building it, but how scared I was and how alone I felt initially. Whew. But trusting that the universe, right, the pocket, has its magic, and I would be okay, that I would find other people, that I would continue to be supported by those that know me and love me. But it's just this kind of symbolism of being alone and isolated, not necessarily knowing the future, but kind of like coping through that fear, right? Like walking through it. And so this piece over this other shoulder that I just finished this morning, actually, you can see there's much more of a collection of buttons, and down at the bottom it's kind of a brown base with all kinds of green earthy buttons and some reflections of the stars, and then you have the stars up here, and then you have kind of this sun circle with a ladder going to it. And so what this means to me is that, you know, in the last 60 days, I've really had an opportunity to become grounded here in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And I've gone out for pizza with friends. I've gone to the food truck place a couple times with friends. I've gone to the movies. I've, you know, just spent time with other human beings, including my friends and my family and my loved ones and my husband. And they're coming down this weekend. My husband and extended family is coming down this weekend, and I'm looking forward to that, and it's going to be beautiful and fantastic. But it, you know, so this picture behind me, you know, reflects, you know, this kind of, you know, having some grounded nature now in my experience down here in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and yet still having this cholesterol like network of support and love and compassion that I'm getting from everybody that I've known and love in my universe that continues to support me. And that this ladder really is like symbolic of like my path, my journey that I haven't quite necessarily figured out, but I'm in the process of putting it together, right? So I don't know exactly what those steps entail, but I know there's a very bright future and a beautiful future, both in the present and in the future, but that I will get there in time, but not to pass up the beauty of what's right now. So those are my art pieces that I've done. And, you know, one is kind of this collection of anxiety and fear and being alone. And the other is, you know, recognizing and experiencing cholesterol love and support from extended family and loved ones and friends that are far away, and then making new friends and supports and connections and figuring out my path, right? And so I wanted to share this video with you all because we don't always know our path, and we don't always know how things are gonna work out. And so oftentimes the fear of the unknown keeps us from taking necessary steps. And so this came up as I was listening to Jen Sincero again this morning. I'm listening to her You Are a Badass audiobook again. And I started it again this morning, and it reminded me of this, you know, this debilitating case of fear that we often have in this programming that we get, that we can't dream too big, that we have to kind of stay put in a way. And that our imagination is just that. It's our imagination and can't necessarily be our reality. And doesn't have to be the case. And so as a tangible example, I just wanted to share kind of this idea of, as a culture, right, in a society, we are very much trained and conditioned that consumerism, products, right? So we see this thing on TV, or we see this thing as we're scrolling through social media, or we see something that our friend has, and we're like, I want that, right? We make this like conscious decision that, okay, that's something I want to go get. I mean, sometimes we just show up at the store and we walk around, we're like, well, I don't know if I want that, I don't need that, but I like it, I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna take it, right? So like not experiencing any fear, maybe fear of credit card debt, and not being able to afford those kinds of things, but at the same time, like just consciously making a decision to just go ahead and do it. And that is often this consumerism, right? This purchasing things is supported by the world in which we live. I mean, we're inundated with just go, do it. And, you know, a bigger example I wanted to give was this idea of like purchasing a vehicle, right? Like many of us have purchased a vehicle. And when you think about it, it's kind of insane because like, okay, you're buying this thing which provides you with great freedom and mobility, but at the same time often costs like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars And yet we still make that commitment and we do it, right? We buy it. Maybe we put a deposit down or we trade an old vehicle in. And then we make this commitment that like for the next 4 or 5 years, we're just gonna keep paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars to pay off this car so that we can have this car and achieve the goal of mobility and freedom. So like what if, right? What if we took that same tenacity that we have for pursuing purchases, commercial items, vehicles, houses, things that are really expensive that we have to work off and pay off over time. If we took that same tenacity and determination towards a dream that we have, right? Something that maybe is less tangible, but is authentic to who we are and what we want to do, right? So maybe it's that you want to travel. Maybe it's that you want to start your own business. Maybe you want to learn how to dance, or you want to be in a play, or you want to write a book. Like there's so many things that our soul calls to us and calls to me to do, to explore as a human being and to make the most of this life that I have, that I'm in the practice of trying to put the tenacity that I have, that in purchasing and paying for, umpteen $1,000 vehicles to be in my possession, to use that same tenacity, courage, and determination and steadfastness to go after my dreams. And so I have some things that I'm working on, hence the ladder. And so we'll see what comes of the next few paintings over the next 2 or 3 months. But I wanted to, really take this opportunity and share this idea of fear and how it can be so all-consuming and really stop us from moving forward. Yet in other areas of our lives, when it would make sense to be very fearful about doing certain things, society and culture has conditioned us to just go ahead and do it anyways, right? When I think about the fact that I had a goal of going and getting my master's in social work, I had a hard time in high school. Yeah, I got through it. I did graduate. I had gone to a 2-year school after graduating from high school, but then fell out because I was struggling with drugs and alcohol. Had moved back home, ended up in Binghamton in recovery, ended up finding recovery, and through the structures and systems that existed, was able to get into a community college at Broome Community College and get an associate's degree in human services. And being more mature, I was able to do a better job when I got back into school. And then I was able to qualify to get into a bachelor's degree at SUNY Binghamton, which I never would have been able to do out of high school. And then I saw this thing like, get your master's in social work. And so I was determined to do it. And so I made that commitment and investment. And I literally left Binghamton and moved to Albany because SUNY Albany was my place to go after my master's degree in social work. And so then I got there, and then life happened, and I struggled with the first internship and ended up having to leave the education program full time and then come back part time. And so a thing that was supposed to take me 2 years to get my master's ended up taking me 6 years. But it was the best thing that could have happened to me in the end, because I learned how to be a social worker and a case manager based on the work that I did with the AIDS Council at the time as a part-time grad student. So, I share all of this because then I acquired $30,000 in debt, and then it was well, now I got to pay for it, right? So I was determined to get this degree, and I got it, and I've been able to do social work as a profession. But then you have this saddle of debt that you got to deal with. And, thank God I have an incredible husband, that the federal government has a student loan forgiveness program, and that I was able to work for a not-for-profit and a government agency that as of late, forgave the balance of my student loans and actually has given me a balance credit back for overpayment. But I just say all of that because we don't always know, and we have reference points that we can look back on, right? Reference points that holy shit, I worked really hard to achieve that, right? Maybe you're sitting in your house, maybe you're sitting in your car, maybe you're watching your kids do their thing. And these were manifestations, these were desires, goals, things that you had and were determined to set out to do. and you did them, and here they are, right? You are existing in that space now, just like I'm existing in this beautiful apartment in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and having this new life experience and being supported by, those that I love and those I have yet to meet. So to, take the opportunity to do a little inventory and to see, is fear getting in the way of me pursuing my next big dream, my next big manifestation, my next big thing that I've been carrying around with me that I just haven't had the courage yet to put action and put into motion. And so I will leave it there for you now, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to share my story, experience, strength, and hope with you. And I hope that you found this video interesting and somewhat inspiring and encouraging, and with a little bit of a roadmap, right? It's hard doing this human thing. It's really difficult, but you're not alone, and beautiful things have happened and beautiful things will continue to happen. And believe in yourself and those around you, that when you can step through your fear and anxiety about what might be, that by doing that you will experience the joy and the benefit of accomplishing your goals, your desires, your dreams, and manifesting what is in your heart. And so with that, I wish you all the best. It's the beginning of August. There's a full moon. This is an incredible month to really do some reflection and correction. So to you, I wish you well, and thank you for your time, and appreciate the opportunity to chat with you. So take care. Be well.